The idea of uniting all nations under one global government has fascinated humanity for centuries. Philosophers, political theorists, and activists have debated whether a single global entity could bring about unprecedented peace and cooperation, or whether it would endanger freedom, democracy, and cultural diversity. Proponents envision a world without war, borders, or inequality, while critics warn of tyranny, inefficiency, and the loss of national autonomy. Determining whether humanity should unite under one system requires examining the political, economic, cultural, and ethical consequences of such a transformation. One of the most compelling arguments for global unification is the possibility of ending wars. Most conflicts in human history have arisen from territorial disputes, ideological differences, and competition for power between sovereign states. If all countries merged into a single global authority, the traditional meaning of war would disappear. There will be no foreign enemy to fight. A unified world could redirect the immense resources currently devoted to militaries toward education, infrastructure, and healthcare. Institutions like the United Nations show a glimpse of this possibility by facilitating diplomacy and collective security efforts. Yet a single global government could theoretically enforce peace more directly. A world government could also address global inequality by redistributing resources and standardizing economic opportunity. Today, vast disparities exist between rich and poor nations, exacerbating poverty, hunger, and migration crises. In a unified world, resources such as food, energy, and technology could be distributed based on need rather than borders. This collective system might resemble an expanded version of the European Union's economic model, which integrates diverse economies through shared governance and trade. By coordinating development and eliminating exploitative practices, global unification could accelerate progress toward universal standards of living. Many contemporary problems, such as climate change, pandemics, and artificial intelligence, transcend national boundaries. Individual nations, each acting in self-interest, often fail to respond effectively because global problems require global solutions. A united world government could enforce environmental protection policies, regulate the use of emerging technologies, and coordinate responses to health crises without the political fragmentation that currently undermines international cooperation. By creating common regulations and goals, humanity could ensure sustainable development for the planet as a whole. Supporters of global unity also emphasize the moral and psychological benefits of seeing humanity as one collective community. Nationalism often fosters division by focusing on differences rather than similarities. A unified world could promote a shared sense of belonging, reducing racism, xenophobia, and prejudice. Education, culture, and communication could reflect a common identity, one species working together for mutual benefit. Philosophers like Immanuel Kant envisioned a cosmopolitan federation, where nations would coexist under universal laws of justice, promoting moral progress beyond tribal or national loyalties. While unity offers potential peace, many critics argue that concentrating global power risks authoritarianism. A single global authority might suppress dissent, limit cultural expression, or make unilateral decisions without accountability. With no external checks or rival systems, citizens could lose the ability to resist or perform oppressive leaders. History shows that political power, when centralized, often leads to abuse. Even well-intentioned systems can evolve into tyranny. A global government might be too large and complex to remain democratic, as local voices would be drowned in a vast political bureaucracy. Another obstacle to global unification is the preservation of cultural diversity. Nations embody unique languages, traditions, values, and ways of life. A global government might unintentionally homogenize these differences in pursuit of standardization. While a shared global culture could enhance understanding, it could also erode the depth of local customs and heritage. Anthropologists argue that cultural diversity strengthens humans' adaptability and creativity. Forcing political unity might therefore lead to cultural monotony, resentment, or even cultural extinction. The sheer logistics of uniting all countries pose serious challenges. Governance structures would need to accommodate billions of people across vastly different legal, economic, and cultural systems. How would representation work for 8 billion citizens? How would taxes, laws, and enforcement be managed across regions with contrasting social norms? Even regional unions like the European Union, comprising fewer than 30 nations with similar political traditions, struggle to maintain coherence. Enlarging this model to a global scale would multiply those difficulties. Moreover, powerful states might resist ceding sovereignty, fearing loss of influence and control. A global system could also entrench existing inequalities rather than eliminate them. Wealthy nations and corporations might dominate global institutions, shaping policies to their advantage without careful design. Global governance could mirror today's power imbalances at a larger scale. Developing countries, whose voices are already limited in global organizations, might be further marginalized. Critics argue that genuine equality requires decentralization and local autonomy, not concentration of decision-making in distant institutions. Opponents of global unification often assume that centralization inevitably leads to tyranny, but modern technology might allow for a new form of decentralized democracy. Blockchain systems, artificial intelligence, and digital voting could enable transparent governance with accountability distributed across regions. A global government need not mean a single ruling elite. It could operate as a federation of autonomous regions with shared laws on global issues like climate, trade, or human rights, while preserving local control over cultural and social matters. In this model, unity would enhance democracy by creating greater cooperation rather than suppressing individuality. Contrary to fears of homogenization, unity could celebrate diversity within a shared framework. Just as states within nations retain unique traditions while contributing to larger identity, countries under a united world could preserve culture through a guaranteed cultural autonomy. The aim would not be uniformity, but coordination. Similar to how global networks like UNESCO protect World Heritage Sites. A global system can institutionalize cultural preservation, ensuring that no tradition is lost in the process of cooperation. Although opponents caution that global unification could reinforce inequality, this risk arises mainly if power remains concentrated among the wealthy. A carefully designed global constitution could prevent dominance by any one region or class. For instance, representation could be population-based, but balanced by regional rights, similar to bicameral systems used in federal governments. Wealth redistribution could follow transparent, enforceable global rules aimed at addressing systemic imbalances. By committing to global equity, the human community could redefine justice beyond national boundaries. Critics often frame global unification as an all-or-nothing scenario, but gradual integration is more realistic. Humanity has already moved in this direction. International law, global trade, and intergovernment organizations serve as steps towards coordination. Rather than replacing nations, the ultimate goal might be creating a cooperative network of states bound by universal principles. In this evolutionary approach, unity emerges through shared goals like sustainability, human rights, and security, avoiding the chaos of immediate structural transformation. The debate over uniting countries is not new. After both world wars, global institutions like the League of Nations and the United Nations were founded to prevent further conflict. The European Union demonstrated that formerly warring states could integrate economically and politically, though not without tensions. These historical examples show that both promise and pitfalls of unity efforts. When cooperation is voluntary and based on mutual benefit, integration tends to exceed. When forced or imposed, it generates resistance and fragmentation. The lesson is that unity works best when it preserves choice and diversity. Philosophers and leaders have long envisioned global unity in moral terms. Thinkers such as H.G. Wells and Albert Einstein argued for a world state to prevent nuclear annihilation. Modern proponents include advocates of global democracy and humanist movements that view planetary citizenship as essential for survival in the 21st century. However, realism in international relations cautions that states act out of self-interest, and total unification may remain aspirational rather than achievable. The challenge lies in balancing idealism with practical governance. Ethically, global unification raises questions of justice, equality, and responsibility. Should moral obligations stop at national borders? Many argue no. Human life has equal value everywhere. In that sense, unification aligns with universal ethics by institutionalizing care for all people. Issues such as climate change add urgency. The planet's health depends on collective stewardship. Fragmented national policies cannot solve problems like deforestation or greenhouse emissions. A united world could enforce environmental protections and coordinate sustainable development with far greater efficiency. However, ethical concerns also arise regarding consent as freedom. If unity were achieved through coercion or majority imposition, it would betray its moral purpose. Ethical unification must therefore respect autonomy and diversity while fostering shared responsibility. The principle of subsidiarity, where decisions are made at the smallest effective level, could balance global collaboration with local empowerment. In this sense, humanity could unite not through hierarchy, but through cooperation among equals. Even if morally desirable, global unification faces immense practical barriers. Nation-states remain central to international law, economics, and identity. People often define themselves through nationality, religion, and culture, and persuading billions to accept a new shared identity would require generations of change. Moreover, political elites benefit from the current system and are unlikely to relinquish sovereignty voluntarily. While globalization has increased interdependence, it has also sparked nationalist responses, as seen in movements emphasizing local control over global institutions. Nevertheless, incremental forms of unity are becoming increasingly necessary. Global cooperation in science, technology, and environmental management already points towards shared government. Instead of a single world government, a network system of treaties, laws, and international organizations may achieve the same goals with less resistance. The concept of global federalism captures this vision. Multiple layers of authority working in harmony, each responsible for its scale of issues, from local communities to the planet as a whole. The idea of uniting all countries touches on humanity's deepest hopes and fears. Supporters see a path toward peace, equality, and shared destiny. While critics warn of oppression, inefficiency, and cultural loss, both perspectives hold truth. Power concentrated at a global level could threaten liberty, yet the absence of coordination already threatens planetary survival. True progress may not require abolishing nations, but integrating them under a cooperative framework that balances unity with self-determination. In the end, the question, should we unite all countries, might be less about whether unity is desirable and more about how it can be achieved without erasing what makes humanity rich in diversity. Global unity should not mean uniformity, but harmony. A system where nations act as partners in stewardship of the planet and architects of a shared future. Achieving this may take centuries, but gradual cooperation offers a realistic path toward that ideal. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.